Well,
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special breaking newscast. I'm TJ with Steve. Normally, we would be on tonight with Amigos After Dark with a little bit more of a lighter show. However, I have received a phone call, and I just received a phone call. I'll be honest, about 30 minutes ago. I had to get home because I'm preparing for my trip to Illinois, and I had to get the studio started up, get everything ready to go. The phone call that I've received was from Rage's wife,
oh,
and she is currently en route to Shelbyville as we speak with Rage's son. And we have been notified at this juncture that our friend Larry Jennings, some of you know him as Gavin Alexander, some of you know him as Rage, most of you know him as Rage. We have been notified that he is in the final stretch, and we are looking by this evening that
wow.
we will lose Rage.
Wow.
I'm going to dedicate a part of tonight's show to some of the memories that we all have of him. Like, Steve, you were a listener of the Morning Disaster, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember the Rage era.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I definitely have some very different memories of him. My memories range from the very aggravating to the extremely comical. I'm obviously going to need some time to process this
Yeah.
before going into some of that. Again, for those of you that are just tuning in, we have been notified that Rage we are imminent at this point. By this evening, it sounds as if we are going to, it sounds like we are going to lose Rage. And damn it. And to add to it, so I'm also texting back and forth with Marvin's daughter. And I actually, as we've been doing this, I just got a message from her that we are also in the final stretch with Marvin as well. It's according to what I'm getting here, they're doing some medical procedures right now with Marvin, and then it sounds like that his daughter will be transferring him to a location that I am not going to disclose at this time. I'll just safe to say it is in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Marvin is going on hospice.
Okay.
And Adam, I don't know if you caught what I said or not, but Heather and Rage's son are currently en route to the hospice care facility that he's been in for the last couple of weeks in Shelbyville.
Okay.
On an emergency trip. They were notified 30 minutes ago that it is imminent. By this evening, we will have lost Rage. So, I'm glad you guys are here. Steve, I think you did a couple of shows with me and with Marvin.
Yeah.
I believe so, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. when Martha was making phone calls and stuff like that, yeah, I did a couple shows.
And Adam, you've broadcast with myself and with Rage.
Yeah.
I mean,
I always love getting Rage. I always like being in the chat room and Rage, did you ever pay your respondents back? Fuck you, Steve, goddamn.
One of my favorite hobbies with Rage has been, for those of you that don't know, and to kind of give you a little bit of history, Rage and I have been on again, off again broadcast partners for the better part of 20 years. The original Mayhem Unleashed, he and I started that together. Some of the old shows we did together. He was going to be a part of the old Mayhem Radio Network down in New Mexico until he screwed me out of $3,000 and stayed in Illinois. But through it all, thick, thin, good, bad, and different, we've been friends, broadcast partners, everything for the better part of 20 years. It hits me in a way, as I was explaining to his son, that none of us want to lose him.
Oh, yeah.
I still think that if he was okay, he'd have so much more yet to offer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That we haven't seen.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
none of us want to lose him. But I've also watched the last year. And
Right.
during the course of the last year, I've seen the pain he's in. Every time we talked over the last 6 months, the last words out of his mouth were, "I love you, man. I love you. I love you." We knew this was coming. It doesn't.
I don't think any of us expected it this quickly, though.
No, I don't think any of us did. It does not soften it as far as that goes. But like Steve, we all have the memories of winding him up about Sarah Jane. We all have the memories of bringing up his abnormal dating habits. We all have the memories of making fun of his hygiene. We all have these memories that ultimately came to him getting wound up like an 8-day clock. And all we could do at that point is sit back and laugh, because you were not going to stop him. He was going to go. The difference is, everybody has those memories. My memories go a little further. And my memories are of the friend of mine that his first marriage was literally so he could be there for her kids. Not even so much for her. He wanted to be there for her kids. He chased the wrestling dream for years, despite many people, including myself, telling him, "You need to stop. You're not getting anywhere. You need to get into something that is going to take care of you and yours." And his absolute refusal to do so, because he still believed, even on the independent circuit, he had something there to offer.
Yeah, he always treated it like a career.
He really did.
And not a hobby. And he always wanted that next promotion. He always wanted to hit that next level. And he kept trying and trying. So he never gave up, and he was very persistent.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the guy that if you were flat broke and he had something in his kitchen, It may not be the most edible thing on the planet, and believe me, he's made up a couple of dishes where I'm like, dude, this looks like sick on a plate and it tastes worse. But he made some stuff that was phenomenal. No matter what, he'd find a way to cook you a meal. He'd find a way to give you the shirt off his back. He'd let you crash at his place, no problem, because so many people did it for him. And despite the fact that we all remember the character, the Gavin Alexander character, the Rage character, I remember my friend. I remember the guy that would push himself so hard overnight, discussing different things that we wanted to do when we were just launching the original podcast. And then as we were getting pieces in place to do that, the same guy that would fall asleep and snore on the phone while we're trying to work out the details, but it was because he stayed up for those kids. He stayed up for his wife. He pushed himself. I remember writing different bits around him that he didn't even have a clue about. And then when he heard them, he'd call me up later and he'd just complain and just scream and holler. I remember being there the day he got his son back. And just seeing the glow of pride that it finally happened. I remember the day he hit rock bottom with a drug habit. And how we all fought to keep him. I was on the phone with him shortly after the day he got his cancer diagnosis. I've been there with, I remember me and him and his wife loading up one of his former roommates who had never been to a strip club once in his life. And we took this kid and not only took him to the strip club, stuffed him in 3 lap dances, fed him full of alcohol, and then he's trying to hang out the window all the way back home while I'm driving. And we did it because we could.
Right.
I remember the guy that was so drunk and hopped up on something that when we walked in to Cinco de Mayo at Four Seasons, and he's walking around bumming drinks from everybody, and he's broke, and he smelled like he hadn't showered in a month, and he's wearing the same clothes he'd been wearing for a week. And then he ends up getting this girl to go with him that literally looked like Chewbacca in drag. And both of them were the same size. And I was like, you're in the bed of my truck. You will not fit in my Ranger. You are in the bed of my truck. And my Ranger was a manual transmission, by the way. So no, there was no way I was fitting both of them the same size in a single cab Ranger to go anywhere.
Right.
I barely fit Rage in there. I can recount so many stories that are good and bad and everything in between. I remember the two of us sitting there. We weren't even drinking hard alcohol that day. We were drinking beer, watching Raw in the living room of my apartment. And making my now ex-wife, then fiance, so angry because we're yelling at the TV. We're into it. We're really enjoying it, and we're back and forth with each other. And she got so angry that she came out of our bedroom and started throwing Tootsie Rolls at both of us and telling us to get out and go watch it at the bar. And we laughed the whole way down the stairs and got in and what made her even madder is not only did we laugh going all the way down the stairs, we went and got in her van and took it to the bar. rather than taking my truck.
Right.
So there's been these amazing memories that my only regret right now is I'm not going to get to say goodbye.
Right.
At least not directly to him, because I'm still here until Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And with that news, which those of you that are just tuning in, like Mike, I see you. I hope you understand where I'm coming from with this and why I haven't acknowledged your message in the chat room yet. But if you have not heard, I have received the phone call, and it is official that Rage is on his final breath. He is on his last steps. By the end of this evening, we will have lost Larry Jennings, also known in the wrestling world as Gavin Alexander, and known in the broadcasting world as Rage. We will be losing him tonight. I leave it open to you guys to go ahead and pick things up from there.
I remember being late teenage, early 20s when I was really getting introduced to Rage. You know, things like Rage Against the Machine, things like Rage in Jail, Rage's rants, all of that. I remember listening to the radio and just listening at the meltdowns and some of the other skits that Rage did, you know, growing up. You know, and that's not to say that, you know, that Rage is older than me. Actually, I think we're about the same age, give or take a few years. But, you know, I just remember those times where it seemed like the goal would be to make Rage earn that moniker.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Just to see how enraged he could get. And it provided a lot of entertainment. I was never familiar with Rage in the wrestling circuits or anything like that. So I didn't know him there. I didn't know Gavin Alexander or, you know, Rage. And I definitely didn't know Larry. But I knew Rage, the radio entertainer. So, yeah, we're in the car right now. So sorry, guys.
I hear you.
Yeah, but yeah, that's starting there and going on, hearing him on QLZ, hearing him on Mayhem, and stuff like that. That's how I'm going to remember Rage. Because it wasn't until recently that I actually got to work alongside Rage. And it gave me a glimpse inside of that entertainer I knew. Because I'd never met the man.
Right.
You know, and he is exactly the way TJ put it. There are times that he can really frustrate you, but then there are times that he'll do whatever he can with what he has to help you out when you need it.
He was always willing to go above and beyond for anybody. I mean, he really was. I hate talking about him like that in the past tense, but I know it's pretty much here. And again, for those of you that did not catch it, I'm not going to go into all the details, at least not until I have permission. But we also got news on Marvin, that Marvin will be and is entering hospice as we speak. And we are on the final journey with Marvin. obviously these are two that I was waiting on, to be honest.
Right. Well, we can't. I mean, I don't know all of Marvin's, but man, I know that he's been very sick and it's gotten worse. But just because you're going on hospice doesn't mean I think my isn't part of his or his daughter's mind. He's being taken care of the right way.
Well,
After they had a little episode that they had while she was
all of that, yeah.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest about it, and to kind of give everybody an insight, because obviously we've just gone through that down here with my grandfather.
right.
So, first of all, hospice is exactly what everybody thinks it is. It is pain management.
Right.
It's to make somebody comfortable as they are in their final decline.
Yeah,
That's
in life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Hospice is, it can be any time.
Right.
Well, first of all, hospice care has got to be ordered
Yeah.
by a doctor.
That's true. And
It,
that pretty much means there's nothing more they can do other than keep you comfortable.
Exactly.
I have heard that hospice can take as long as 6 months, though.
Oh yeah.
And it's not a definite thing. My mom went into hospice and then came out of it.
Right. Yeah, you can come out.
So it's not an end all be all.
No.
But it's also, when the doctors are saying, I'm calling for it,
right. They give up. They cannot think anymore.
Yeah, they're washing their hands at that point.
Yeah.
So you're in a precarious situation.
Right.
And is that individual's body and mind in such a point that it's going to drag them back out of hospice at that point. Adam, you were lucky that your mom had the iron will that she wasn't going to deal with it yet. When Rage went into hospice, and now Marvin going into hospice, like with my grandfather, the friend of mine down here, my uncle that passed up there before my grandpa, the friend of mine that passed up there, as with everybody in this last year. And I can run a list, and we're not through 2024 yet.
Right.
The dumpster fire of a year that I've lived through. And we've got two more that are now, one is a definite.
Right.
And then the other one is entering hospice, and he is taking a major decline.
Right.
So damn you, phone. Like I said, I gotta admit that it hasn't been easy watching this on the phone and discussing as we have.
Right.
Well,
you never want this happening, especially during a holiday.
No.
You want to get through the fucking holidays, Let it happen in March or something like that, But yeah, it's, and I'll be honest. I'm like Adam, I didn't know Rage that well. I mean, I grew up with him on the Morning Disaster and wrestling stuff, but I will say though, since I was participating in the chat room and he was on Mayhem, I got to know Larry. We talked.
Yeah, occasionally. And that's it hasn't, like I said, and I mean, we're still going to do tonight's Amigos After Dark. That's definitely happening
Okay.
because this was an unexpected broadcast. I knew that it was coming. I just didn't know when. And I'm going to be honest, and the selfish part of me was really hoping that the selfish part of me was really hoping that I would get to say goodbye. I get to be up there and say goodbye.
Right.
But that obviously did not occur. And we're at a point now that it could be any minute. It could honestly be any minute. So I know that Rage's wife right now, as she told me, is shattering every speed limit and trying to break the ground speed record to get to him.
Right.
His son is very distraught. And for the obvious reason why. We know why. But
okay, you had me thinking he went to the great gig in the sky.
He's close. By tonight.
Okay, well, until it happens, Steve, don't talk about him in the past tense. You had me thrown off.
I've been doing it. So I'm not going to blame Steve for that. So let's start. Again, we are at, this was straight from the hospice nurses and from the doctor, call to his wife. I got the phone call. Matter of fact, I was getting ready to pull in and get my dinner, because I have to work tonight. So my plan was to eat, go ahead and get some sleep, get up, do tonight's show as I'm at work, and we obviously know what happened. That's completely out the window. Marvin is just this amazing treasure. I've been just extremely blessed to have the close friendship that I've had with him, especially over the last few years. We have had 3-hour-long conversations on the phone about literally nothing.
I know some of my favorite phone calls have been with you and Marvin on a 3-way call.
Oh, God.
And they have been hilarious.
The two of us, when you put us into any type of situation that, that somebody knew us and we got to going back and forth. I mean, Nicole, his daughter, and Tommy says it right there. He says it best. Tommy left Illinois 4 years ago, really did not know Rage, but his thoughts are with those who knew and loved him. He's happy to remember Marvin the way we all lived and not focus on the sadness of the news, and nothing but love for Nicole and her sister and, of course, Marvin's grandson.
Oh, yeah.
Who was really lucky to get to know Marvin.
Yeah.
there were multiple occasions that Marvin and I would be on the phone and Nicole would be listening. And then we'd hang up the phone and then he would text me within about 30 minutes and go, "We are in big trouble." And she would chew him out. And then she would text me and start chewing me out. And she never knew who the instigator was. So she just got both of us. And the fact of the matter is we never knew who instigated it. We just played off each other and kept going and going and going. It was like the Energizer Bunny. We'd start down that path and it didn't stop until one of us like, "Hey, I got to hang up. I got to go do this, or I've got to go do that," whatever. But Marvin and I would just get on that roll and it'd never end. Marvin's favorite thing is I'd go, "Hey, Marvin, one more thing." And he'd hang up the phone on me. One of his favorite things to do. I would be talking to Marvin on the phone and then he wouldn't even know it and he'd mute himself. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, "You hit your mute button again." Okay. I didn't notice that, TJ. I remember the day on the show that Marvin told me, "You have now inherited the rights to you dirty whore and you stupid whore." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And I just, the many conversations sometimes about things very serious, most of the time nowhere near. Marvin is one that has lived his life like every day could be his last. He lived it like nothing is promised, nothing is guaranteed. So, if the girl walks up and she was flirting with him,
Yep.
didn't matter if she was 9 years younger than his daughter. He's like, and if she was wacko enough, he was like, "Oh, you're interesting." And he'd go for it. Marvin never, ever took any of this life for granted. Not once.
Right.
And with him going into hospice now, I've got to admit that, the reflection on both of them and how close they've been to me over the years and how much I think of both of them. And I mean, Tommy can back up, the friendship with Marvin. If you are a friend of Marvin's, you never know what you're going to get into. You never knew. Yeah. Like Tommy says right here, Marvin had such a keen knowledge of things like this. Tommy says that Marvin helped him understand his PTSD and helped bring him out of his shell.
Uh-huh.
And, that he can never thank him enough for. And that's a great example,
Marvin was very instrumental. And when I started the Morning Disaster, and I would have meltdown after meltdown after meltdown, one day he's like, "Dude, you just got to let it roll off your shoulder. Don't let it get to you. You just play with it." Like, oh no, fuck those people. No, no, no.
I remember Marvin telling you that. The just play with it part.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me up. And he says, yeah, I gave Steve the best advice I could give him. And I told him whenever he is stressed on the show, he just needs to play with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, Marvin, really?
Yeah, that sounds like Marvin.
And I'm like, I'm trying to eat, Marvin. Oh, is that? This would be the wrong time for me to tell you about the dump that I just took in the urine bucket.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, it would be, you know. I also remember the January 6th. We had just finished the show. I was on the road. Marvin and I were on the phone with each other talking about how we could mess with Ray again the next day. Putting our plan together on how we were going to get Ray just wound up like an 8-day clock. And Steve, I'm sure you'll back this up and remember this. If there was two people that could do it, you get Marvin and I backstopping each other, we could wind Ray up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
And he'd run with it for the next week. But then we'd give him another reason, and we'd wind him up again the next day. So he'd forget about what we did before, and we'd do something else. And we wound him up all the time. It was one of our favorite hobbies. And, you know, I was standing in line trying to get some food. And Marvin goes, "Oh, my God." I go, "What?" He goes, "You need to find a TV." "Why do I need to find a freaking TV for? I'm working." He goes, "No, find a TV." And I ended up going into a driver's lounge. I said, "Okay, I'm near a TV. Holy crap." And we were watching everything that was happening during January 6th on the TV, 1,000 miles apart, but discussing it in real time. And he's like, "I can't believe these bastards. I can't believe these bastards.
They are doing what every single American wants to be doing."
And I said, "What are you getting at?" He goes, "Well, I can't believe that they're blowing up like that. Oh, wait, she was pretty hot. I'd like to go ahead and give her one." I'm like, "Good God, Marvin."
All right, guys, I got to go for now. I will see you on tonight's episode, though.
Okay. Yep.
Hey, Adam.
You know, we are. That's the memories I have. Marvin, you know, me and my PTSD, much like Tommy, as I was working my way through, and I still do, and I use a lot of the coping mechanisms that Marvin gave me over the years to help me out with it. Marvin knows so much, and just because of the character that you listened to, where you were listening to this buffoon, but it wasn't the case. The man is extremely, highly intelligent. And even just the conversations about different sports or you know, different music or different memories. I cherish all of that. because we just our friendship, we just had this wild ride. And I'd never want to take anything away from that. Like I said, with knowing that we're losing Rage tonight, knowing Marvin is entering hospice as we speak, everything that's happened over the course of this past year. When I say this year's been a dumpster fire,
yeah,
for me, actually a dumpster fire would be an improvement. There's been too many this year. I will be telling some different stories tonight about Rage, and some of the more comical ones. One of them involves a picture. There's multiple people already trying to guess the picture. They're failing. This picture was something completely different. And when I explain the stories that go to when the picture was taken, I'm sure we'll have a lot of people cracking up. But the story, as far as what happened to get to the day of the picture, actually started at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. And then made its way to the actual event of the day that picture was taken. And I will probably offer a ransom because I want that picture so badly. And there's been multiples going, is it the one where Rage is in it? I've had that picture for years. No, it's not the Summer Breeze picture. It's not any of the edited pictures where he's standing in a room full of pickings or anything like that.
Shit.
And that
I'll never forget the first time you showed the picture of Summer Breeze, and I said, "Damn, she's hot."
Oh yeah.
Well, she's a man.
I didn't know.
I love my wife like there's no tomorrow, but she does some really dumb shit sometimes.
Everybody does.
She got me a Christmas present. Dumbest thing she could have ever have bought.
You do realize I'm not doing a show about any of that right now, right?
I know. I'm just trying to keep my mind in a positive place.
I mean, I'm trying to focus on what's going on.
Okay. I'm just, like I said, trying to be in a positive place.
And I get it, but this is not that point. That'll be later on tonight. So, no, but like Steve said, yeah, I remember Steve actually saying that he thought Rage in a dress was attractive. I was like, no. And the only question I have for you at that point was, how high were you?
I wasn't very high. I think I was just really horny.
Oh God.
I don't know. He made an attractive woman. I thought.
What? This is also a conversation for tonight.
Right, yeah,
We're
yeah.
going to get in depth on that.
Okay.
So again, everyone, the last, the final point here, I hope that, if Heather has made it to the nursing home at this point, he's hearing me. We are in the final stretch. I do not have a time of death yet. They have said everything is shutting down. We are imminent within the next couple of hours. We will be losing Larry Jennings, also known Gavin Alexander, also known as Rage. And the thing I could say the most about it is we've had our ups, we've had our downs, we've had our good times and our bad. Through it all, we stayed friends. Even if we wanted to kill each other, we were still friends.
Right.
And if he's hearing this now, I hope he is. Yeah, I love him. I wish I could have made it in enough time to say goodbye in person. That was actually on my, as Steve knows, and that was on my bucket list for next week. I'm obviously not going to make that happen. I'm going to miss him. And Marvin heading down the hill as he is. For Marvin, I pray there's not a whole lot more pain. And I hope that he can go peacefully. And I hope they're both waiting for me when it's my turn to see them on the other side. These are two of my closer friends, and knowing that I'm getting ready to lose both of them within a certain time frame of each other is rather difficult to
Definitely
deal with. So I'm going to let you guys make some final thoughts towards that. And then I'm going to go ahead and end this so I can try to get a nap before I've got to go to work. I don't everybody say anything at once.
Oh, okay. Final thoughts. Well, Rage, hang in there, buddy. Marvin, you have no idea.
Well, I'm a little bit different about it because my own personal beliefs say that we need to embrace death as a part of life. And I know it is really, really sad when you lose someone that you were close to. But in my opinion, you don't be sad over losing that person. You be happy that you were able to have time with that person.
I'll give you a thought along that line. Something and I've had this running through my head already. If it's God, how in the hell is God going to be able to control in the same room Rage, Jim the photographer, and Marvin at one time with RTQ and Mikey stirring the pot? And Nikki shaking her head the whole time going, Oh my God, why?
They one hell of a party.
It's yeah, and if it's hell, you know that all of them are going to be trying to figure out how to grow weed and keep the beer cold.
Yep.
They are going to try. By the time I go, they will have figured out how to make ice in hell. I mean, I'm sure of it.
You know, can I just say, how come everyone always thinks that they're drinking beer and smoking weed in hell? How do you know they ain't drinking beer and smoking weed up in heaven? You're supposed to be having a damn good time up there.
They're getting both. But down in hell, it's ditch weed and hot beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
Up
heaven,
it's good weed and cold beer.
yeah. Like there at one point in time, there was a friend of mine that had a key ring. The key ring said, heaven is where the women are beautiful and the beer is cold. Hell is where the kegs have holes and the women don't.
See, now I figure heaven will have the beer at whatever temperature you prefer it at, whereas hell is temperature will be complete opposite of where you prefer it. Because I actually know some people that do prefer their beer warm.
Well, I do too.
They're called Germans.
Depends on what they're drinking. There are some beers that they even have to have it ice cold.
Right, but there's
there.
a lot of your German beers are served at room temperature.
Yes and no.
I know a guy, when he was having a good time Friday night, he wanted hot pizza and cold beer. But then Saturday morning, to cure the hangover, he needed the opposite: cold pizza and warm beer.
Hot beer. Yep. But I mean, again, it's to kind of get back to point. We're right here at the end of 2024. And unfortunately, we are all now dealing with this. I wanted to make sure that this news came from me. I know other people that wanted to give it. I know why they wanted to give it. I know that Ray, especially with Rage, Ray didn't want to touch it.
Right.
He wanted me to handle this. And that says a lot. And I wanted to put this into the proper perspective because I did not want Rage's passing to be turned into a big joke. So, with that being said, and 420, I see you. Again, Marvin will be in hospice by tonight. I will not disclose the location that I just received from his daughter. I'll bring the message back up again so I can make sure I've got everything quoted correctly that I'm going to quote. She does say that he does not have much time left, that her and Jack are getting as much time in as they possibly can before they move him to the hospice. And the phone call that I got on the way home tonight, or this afternoon, because I was on my way here to eat dinner and go to bed, the phone call I received is that Larry Jennings, also known Gavin Alexander, also known as Rage, is on his final stretch, and we will be losing him sometime this evening. When we do Amigos After Dark tonight, I we'll entertain more stuff from the chat room where we are talking about some of the memories and some of the crap that everybody did, and just into all of the fun times that we've had with both of them. But in the meantime, I want to thank everybody for being a part of the program. I wish it was on a higher note. As you guys know, I love the broadcast. I love being with these guys and having a good time. Chris, I'm sorry I snapped at you a little bit, but it was not the broadcast for that. And we will see everybody tonight after 9 p.m. for Amigos After Dark. If you are a Tier 3 subscriber for Morning Disaster, you'll see Steve for the Thursday night program tonight as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I will have probably Rage's final update and at least an update on Marvin by tonight. So everyone take care. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon. You're muted.
If you're not doing anything between now and then, I'm actually queuing up music in the playlist for Throwback Thursday right now.
Good Lord. All right, so AsgardRadio.com, you can get Throwback Thursday with Chris. So
a guy that's on air with no personality.
We will see you guys tonight at sometime around 9 o'clock for Amigos After Dark. Thank you again for tuning in, everybody.